I booked the Airbnb because it was cheap. That should have been my first warning. It was a small studio apartment on the third floor of an old brick building. The listing photos looked normal: clean white walls, a small kitchen, a couch that turned into a bed, and a large window overlooking the street. The host Daniel messaged me immediately after booking. Let me know if you need anything. I live nearby. At the time, it felt reassuring. I arrived around 8 p.m. The key was in the lockbox, like the listing said. Inside smelled faintly of cleaning chemicals and something metallic, like old pipes. The place looked exactly like photos, maybe a little too exact. Every object seemed positioned carefully. The couch pillows were perfectly aligned. The kitchen counter had three mugs arranged in a triangle. It felt stacked. Still, I was tired from traveling. I dropped my bags and took a shower. That's when the first strange thing happened. When I stepped out of the bathroom, my phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. Hope the shower pressure is good. I had the pipes fixed last week. I froze. I hadn't mentioned the shower. I stared at the message for a long moment before replying. Yeah, it's fine. He replied instantly. Good. I told myself he was just being attentive. Still, the thought lingered. How did he know I had just used the shower? That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I heard something. A faint click, like plastic shifting. I looked around the room, nothing. Then I noticed something odd. The smoke detector above the bed had a small blinking light. I stood on a chair and looked closer. My stomach dropped. Inside the small ventilation holes was a tiny lens. A camera. My hands started shaking. I grabbed my phone and took a picture, then another. Then I messaged Daniel. Why is there a camera in the smoke detector? The typing bubble appeared instantly, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, a message. There shouldn't be. Another message came immediately after. Please don't touch it. I stared at the words. Please don't touch it. Not. I'll come fix it. No, not that strange. Just that. That's when my phone rang. Daniel. I didn't answer. It rang again, then again. Finally, I picked up. The voice was calm, too calm. Hey, I'm coming over to check the detector. It's 2 a.m., I said. Won't take long. I'm not comfortable with that. Silence. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. I already know you are standing by the kitchen counter. I slowly looked down. That's exactly where I was standing. I grabbed my bag and ran for the door. The handle wouldn't turn. Locked. From the outside. My heart started pounding. My phone buzzed again. Relax. It's for safety. Another message. I grabbed my bag and ran for the door. But the handle wouldn't turn. Locked. From the outside. My heart started pounding. My phone buzzed again. Relax. It's for safety. Another message. People steal things. Then another. And sometimes they lie. I ran to the window and looked down. 3 floors. Too high. My phone buzzed again. Don't try to leave. I want to talk. Then the footsteps in the hallway. Slow, heavy, stopping outside the door. The lock clicked. I grabbed the kitchen knife from the counter. The door opened slowly. Daniel stepped inside. He looked exactly like his profile picture, except thinner, paler, and smiling too wide. His eyes scanned the room, then landed on the chair beneath the smoke detector. You found it, he said. I didn't answer. Most guests don't. My hands were shaking. You filmed people, I said, just to make sure they behave. That's illegal. He tilted his head. Only if someone reports it. Then he closed the door behind me. Give me the camera, he said. No. His smile disappeared. You shouldn't have touched it. He took a step forward. I raised the knife. Stay back. For a moment, We just stared at each other. Then he lunged. I swung the knife wildly. I cut his arm. He screamed. I ran past him into the hallway, down the stairs, out into the street. I didn't stop running until I reached the gas station. The police came within 10 minutes. When they searched the apartment, they found something worse than hidden cameras. Hard drives, dozens of them, each labeled with apartment numbers, dates, guest names. The worst part was the basement. There were six other hidden cameras in different parts of the apartment: kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, even inside the air vent above the couch. Daniel was arrested that night. They later discovered he had filmed over 120 guests. Here's the part that still haunts me. A week later, the detective called me. They had gone through the footage. Hours of recordings, guests sleeping, showering, living their lives. But one clip stood out. It was recorded at 3 a.m., the night before I arrived. The apartment was empty, except for one thing: Daniel walking around the room, testing the cameras. He stood directly under the smoke detector, looked up into the lens, and said, "Let's see who stays next." I booked the place because it had perfect reviews. Private cabin, secluded, peaceful, great for writers. Exactly what I needed. The listing photos showed a small wooden cabin surrounded by tall pines somewhere outside Asheville. It looked cozy, string lights on the porch, a little wood stove inside. The host, Mark, had over 200 five-star reviews. People wrote things like, "Mark is incredibly attentive. He made sure we were comfortable the whole stay." At the time, that sounded reassuring. Now it feels like a warning. I completely misunderstood. I arrived just before sunset. The cabin sat at the end of a gravel driveway, about half a mile from the main road. No neighbors, just forest, wind in the trees. Mark messaged me through the app as soon as I parked. "Mark, did you drive safely?" I typed back, "Yes, just got here." Seconds later, another message popped up from Mark. "Good. I like knowing my guests are safe." That wording felt a little weird, but I brushed it off. Inside the cabin was exactly like the photos: small living room, kitchenette, bedroom upstairs in a loft. Clean, quiet, too quiet. By 9 p.m., the forest outside was pitch black. I locked the door, made some ramen, and sat down to work on my laptop. Then my phone buzzed again. A message from Mark. "Everything good inside?" I stared at the message. How would he know I was inside? I typed, "Yeah, thanks." Three dots appeared. Then he messaged, "Good. Let me know if you need anything." I told myself he was just an attentive host. Still, I checked the windows before going to bed. The first weird thing happened at 1:37 a.m. I woke up to footsteps outside, crunching slowly on gravel. I sat up in the loft bed and listened. Someone was walking around the cabin. I held my breath, then my phone buzzed again. I almost dropped it. A message from Mark. "Sorry if I woke you." My stomach turned cold. I typed with shaking fingers, "What?" His reply came immediately. "Just checking the property. Bears sometimes come around." I crept to the loft railing and looked down through the window. Nothing, just darkness. But the footsteps stopped. The next morning, I convinced myself I'd overreacted. Maybe he really was checking for animals. Still, when I stepped outside to drink coffee on the porch, something made my chest tighten. Fresh footprints circled the cabin, not just near the door, every window. I messaged him, "Did you walk around the cabin last night?" Three dots appeared, then disappeared. It appeared again. Finally, he messaged, "Just making sure everything was secure." I didn't like that answer, but I told myself to relax. It was only one more night. That evening, I decided to explore the woods before sunset. The path behind me, the path behind the cabin, led maybe 200 yards into the trees before curving around a hill. That's when I saw it. A second structure, half hidden in the trees. A small shed. The door was slightly open. I don't know why I walked toward it, but I did. Inside was a folding chair, a thermos, and a pair of binoculars pointed directly at the cabin. My skin went ice cold. Then I saw the other thing, photos, printed photos, taped to the wall, dozens of them. Every single guest who had stayed in the cabin, eating, sleeping, watching. Photos taken through the windows, including one of me from last night, sitting at the table with my laptop. I ran back down the path, back to the cabin, hands shaking so badly I almost dropped my keys unlocking the door. I grabbed my bag, my laptop, everything. Then my phone buzzed again. A message from Mark. Going somewhere? My heart stopped. I slowly turned toward the window, and that's when I saw him, standing in the trees, watching. I ran for the car. Gravel, sp- Gravel sprayed everywhere as I backed down the driveway. Halfway to the road, my phone buzzed again and again. Messages pouring in. Messages from Mark. You forgot to say goodbye. I thought you liked the cabin. Most guests stay longer. Then the final message. Don't worry, I still have the pictures. I reported everything to Airbnb and the police. They searched the property, found the shed, found the photos, hundreds of them, guests going back years, but they never found Mark. The cabin listing disappeared within a day. No host, profile, no account, nothing. Like it never existed. Except sometimes, late at night, I still get notifications from the Airbnb app. No sender, no listing. Just one message. Did you arrive safely?